Today on the podcast, we have actor Stuntman William R. Perry. Bill, great to have you.
I'm so glad to be here. I've been looking forward to this since we first started talking to each other, and there's a whole group of people out there in the Scarefest universe. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of fun to be. I feel like I'm going to be friends with everybody before we do it. People aren't going to come by my table like, I know that guy. We've been hanging out for the last 3 months. I don't need that guy.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. We have Scarefest Weekend 17 coming up, October 17th to 19th at Central Bank Center, Lexington, Kentucky.
When they told me I was doing Scarefest, I was just completely blown away.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the guest list, and I was like, wow. I mean, I want to meet a lot of those people, too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people I never worked with that are going to be there, and it's like, Julia Lewis, God.
Right.
Totally had, just really respect her work, and
yeah.
And it just goes on and on. The list just goes on forever. And Scarefest is a really, really interesting show for me because I've never done a show as big as this. It's huge. I mean, there's
huge
tens of thousands of people instead of dozens of, like some of the things I've done. And there's more than one reunion in a sense for me. I mean,
Sure.
There's Lost Boys, there's Monster Squad, there's Nightmare 3, there's a lot of folks from Nightmare 4, some folks from Nightmare 6. And so some of these people, like Ken Sagos, I've connected with, and Brooke, and some of these folks I have seen at other shows, and we've gotten a chance to kind of catch up a little bit. But it's really fun because I know some guys who don't want to do shows because they say, oh, it's Glory Days BS. And it's like, you know what? If you do these, if you're a chatty person, if you're a friendly person, and if you're a hardcore fan like they are, it's a common ground.
Right.
And so you talk to somebody. My favorite thing at a show is when somebody will ask me a question about something only I would know, and I tell them, and they go, "Oh my God, that's so great! I'm going to watch the movie again, and I'm going to find that part." And then they call all their friends and go, "I talked to the guy, and he told me about this. You're going to see this when the film." And they get together and they watch the film together, and they see whatever little tidbit that I gave to them, and they enjoy the film all over again in a new way.
Yeah.
Just because now they have a fun little story that ties them in and gives them a personal connection with the film they didn't have before.
Yeah.
And I love that part. I love knowing
Absolutely.
that they're going to go home and watch this again, and they're like, I saw the wires. I saw the wires you were talking about. Oh my God, how did I never see those wires before?
Yeah.
And that's really the fun of it, because you give them a little something to help them enjoy the film again. And I love telling stories. That's what I do. So it's really fun to do these conventions. I've had people go, God, how many stories do you have? Like, I don't know, man. I remember those times very vividly because it was really one of the best times of my life. I was young. I was doing the thing I wanted to do, a thing I felt I was born to do. How are you going to not remember?
Right.
And I got to do stuff, crazy stuff. I traveled the world and worked with all sorts of just amazing, gifted, talented people. And it's like, not going to forget that.
Could not agree more. Let's talk about your career a little bit. Tell us a little bit about how you ended up in the field, in the world.
That's a fun story. I wanted to be an actor.
Okay.
I was a pretty good-looking kid back then, but I'm real short. I'm about 5'6", and I weighed very little, about 125 pounds. So I'm not I had the look of the young leading man. My agents would always say, "Oh, you got a great young leading man look," but then they would pair me up with girls who, teenage girls up to 20s, whatever, and they're 5'9", and they're like, "This ain't gonna work." And so I had a lot of times where I'd have great auditions. I mean, I remember being in auditions with Tom Cruise sitting over here, and Sean Penn sitting over there, Matthew Modine, all these amazing actors who massively intimidated me. But I was there, and I'm in the fight, and just never really ended up getting the parts that I really thought I was right for. And about probably about the first year in the business, a buddy of mine called me up. He was a stunt coordinator, and he said, "Hey, I got this kid. He looks just like you. 5'6", brown hair, brown eyes." And we're not allowed to use kids in the stunts anymore because just even if it's the most subtle stunt you ever saw, he said we just can't. It was after the whole Twilight Zone accident happened back in the 80s. So anyway, they were looking for guys, and he says, you got skinny little girly arms. It's perfect. So I'm like, well, it's a credit. I'll just do one. What's the big deal? So I get this quick part. It was for Wes Craven, actually. Okay. My very first gig was for Wes Craven on a Disney Movie of the Week. A lot of folks don't know Wes did a lot of TV. Not secretly or anything. It was just nobody really talked about who directed TV. And so I do this part, and the stunt coordinator says, your martial arts background, your skateboarding, your motorcycles, all that stuff really is kind of good stunt guy stuff. I said, I don't know. And he's like, no more auditions, no more agents. People just call you. And you got the right physique for doing a lot of this stuff. In the 80s, they were killing off teenagers in movies like, making sushi. And so it was a good spot, and I had the right physicality for it. Being an actor was good because I would work with actors and say, if you were going to do this, how are you going into this? And they're like, do you really care? I'm like, yeah, I want to make you look good. I want to make this look, I don't want anybody to know this wasn't you. And so I would try to adopt their physicality as we would do the stunts. And people would call me all the time. I know a lot of actors who came out to Los Angeles and never got show number one. They didn't do anything. And it sucked, to be an actor out here. You're busting your butt. You're working crappy nighttime jobs, trying to get a job, trying to get an acting job, and it just never happened for him. Well, my first year, at least once a month, for at least a couple of days a month, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. It's a huge amount when you're out here in Los Angeles. And so people just started calling me. Hey, can you work on Wednesday? I'm like, what are we doing? We'll tell you when we get here. Okay. And you sort of rely on your physicality. And I'd call buddies and go, hey, they're going to hit me with a car. How do you do that? And they'd call me up and say, well, here's how it's done. Let's get together. We'll rent a beat up used car this weekend. We'll have you go flopping across the hood for a while till you get the hang of it. And then you'll be ready for Monday, or Wednesday or whatever the day was. Yeah. And so it was really kind of, I didn't go in with the intent of being a stuntman. It was just kind of the right place, the right time. And I don't say no to anything. I don't do pretty much like, hey, man, if this is what I was in the place I wanted to be. I wanted to be in movies. That's all that mattered from the time I was a little kid. And so having this sort of just kind of right place, right time, people were like, I can't believe you got a series your first year. I can't believe you were a stunt coordinator in your first year. That's ridiculous. It's like, just right. I'm not saying I did anything special. I think it was just more about being available, being excited about doing it, and having a work ethic of, I'm not going to say no. Yeah. I'll figure a way out. Lost Boys. It's one of those ones where if somebody said to me, if you had to watch one of your movies every day for the rest of your life and you could watch no other movie, which one would you pick? It's like, Lost Boys. I'm like, wow, you didn't have to think about that long. It's like, no, I just love that movie. It was a great time at the time. I think I was in my early 20s, and I was doubling Corey Haim and Corey Feldman for different projects. Mm-hmm. And the set was just fun. It was a party. Truly, kind of one of those things. I'm surprised we got a movie made because we were having such a good time. And, we all knew that the script was really good. We knew that it was funny and kind of sexy and kind of dark and really just not like no other vampire movie that had been made at that time. Right. Yeah, it was cool. Everybody was dressed cool. Yeah. And it was really one of those things where it's like, yeah, we knew from the very outset, this is going to be good.
Monster Squad, this is a huge reunion they're doing at Scarefest this year is Monster Squad as well. So you get to take part in that.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those guys since.
Really?
I think sometimes people who don't live out here kind of assume we all live in the same neighborhood. But Los Angeles is sprawling. It's probably, good 80, 90 miles from end to end in every direction. And so, you may bump into these people from time to time. But now with with all the different conventions and stuff, I do end up seeing some of these folks. And a lot of times I recognize that this was a much more vivid memory for me than it might be for them.
Sure.
And so I go into the reunion stuff very shy because it's like, look, man, you're never going to remember me. I looked very different back then. You looked very different back then.
Yeah.
And Monster Squad, I don't know that they would remember me because they were like 10.
Yeah.
You know, maybe 13, 14, 15
Yeah.
at the oldest.
Well,
And,
imagine
you know,
getting cast in that role and then thinking, 35 to 40 years later, you're still going to be talking about it, and there's going to be this massive following, and now you're going to a reunion show, and people are, amped up, looking forward to it.
But I got to go back and watch Monster Squad. I think I doubled the kid in the leather jacket with the crossbow. Pretty sure that was the kid I doubled. I looked a lot like him when I was that age. But I got to go back and watch it again. I haven't seen it in a very long time. So I'm going to have to go back because people are going to ask, so what'd you do? I'm like, I don't know. I got no idea. I just know
I
I'm
know
in the
I was
credits.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was there because I got pictures.
Return of the Living Dead 2. And we've got a visual here that I'm going to share. Let's talk about it.
I got to tell you, that is probably one of my most favorite films to work on. I was doing another show at the same time. Now, as an actor, a stunt person, or whatever, you are so blessed to get one job. But if I had two jobs at the exact same moment, people say, well, how can you be in two places at once? Well, one was filming at night, one was filming during the day. Like, when do you sleep? I'm like, I couldn't sleep. I was having so much fun. I was just in adrenaline high for 5 days, period. I would to sleep, go home, take a shower, sleep for 3 hours, race to the next set, and be just as excited as I couldn't sleep because I was so excited about what I was doing. And one of my favorite parts about Return of the Living Dead was I remember we had done the scene where I get run over by the truck. I'm Billy's double, and he gets hit by a meat truck. And I remember kind of saying my goodbyes to everybody on the set, saying, hey, it's been really great working with you. And they're like, where are you going? You're on the call sheet for tomorrow. I said, but I got run over. He's like, you're a zombie, Bill. You're not dead. You were dead when we started. That's so cool. And they said, and plus we have what we call utility zombies, where you're not doubling any specific zombie. You're just, somebody walking by and you get electrocuted, run over, shot, whatever it is. And so they said, yeah, we're going to use you all week because, we got you for the week. So we'll use you for all sorts of stuff. So you're not just Billy. You're going to be this guy. You're going to be that guy. And I was like, oh, my God, this is so much fun. I get to be a zombie. And I hear people talk about, the makeup and, oh, my gosh, she was in the makeup trailer for 4 hours. How tedious. I'm like, oh, dude, I love being in makeup.
Yeah.
The fact that they made me this sort of blue-green zombie, I'm looking in the mirror going, this is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
This is so cool. And so every day was so much fun. And I got to do all sorts of stuff. Got high falls. I got, car hits, squibs, and those exploding things. And it was just so much fun. And I just remember thinking every day, I don't know what I'm going to do today, but I'm going to go have the best time. And the stunt coordinator, a guy named Gary Davis, super fun. Everybody on the cast, I had a thing for Marcia Dietland. I don't still, honey. Leave me alone. No, kind of had a thing for Marcia. Kind of probably still do. She was just, so much fun. And I was a big Twin Peaks fan. So the cast was, also just aspirational to me. Just really loved them. So, yeah, just so much fun. I'd never done a zombie movie before. And zombie movies are great. And it was a comedy zombie. It wasn't, literally chewing guts out of.
Yeah.
It was a little intense for me. But yeah, just remember thinking this was everything I ever wanted times 2,
Right.
Day and night, working every minute, that I could work, and just, being excited to do it. And somebody was behind the scenes videoing me getting hit by the meat truck.
Wow.
Don't remember anybody doing that, but here's the video. And he says, yeah, this is Point of Impact. And my friends now call me Point of Impact because I was going to be standing where the truck was going to hit. And so a lot of this, my memories of it, there's certain things I remember very, very well, and certain things I didn't until, the convention stuff started happening and people were asking about it, and people sending me, videos very nicely, and it's like, oh yeah, now I remember that.
One of my all-time favorite movies, and it's one of those things where if you were there in that time, you understood what the Corey and Corey phenomenon was, right? You got it. Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about License to Drive.
It's the anniversary today.
Is it?
Of License to Drive. License to Drive came out on this day. I put these things in my in my calendar just so I usually post about them. I post a little video today of me coming out the back window and
Yeah.
remembering that stunt as being something I thought I could have bought it that day.
Yeah.
There were some complications. I had to go out the window and land on another vehicle.
Right.
I had to get upside down, land on my back, and if I go too far, I land on top of the camera. I don't go far enough, I go under the wheels.
Yeah.
Either way, not a
Yeah,
good.
we've got a visual here.
Get,
We're looking at it, and it looks like you had to be pretty precise. I mean, everybody that's seen the movie, it's the opening sequence, right? And it's this whole thing where Corey Haim is he's trapped on a bus. He's trying to get out of the bus, and he decides that the only way out is he's jumping out a back window, and
well, of course,
here comes Bill.
Why wouldn't he just ask to get off?
Right. So no,
yeah,
that's
that's one of my favorites too. Again, my best bud, Lee Waddell, was there that day. He took one of the pictures that I think you're showing. And as I came through the window, the glass, people think about candy glass, and they used to call it sugar glass because glass would be made literally out of spun sugar. It's not been that way for a million years. It's resin. And although it is very fragile, it's also very sharp and usually pretty thick. And so as I go through that window, I have my hands like this, and well, you can't see it, but there's a nice little scar right here. Whereas I went through the window, it just went right into a vein.
Oh.
And it just stuck there. And I do the landing, and we get up, and they said, hey, your feet kind of hit the frame of the window on the way out. We need you to do it again. Okay, going again. All right. Okay, cool. I'm yeah.
Right.
And as I'm walking back to the spot, I said this in the post I posted today. Lee turns to me and says, you have a really big gash right there, and you're bleeding. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't want this to get on my costume more than the blood loss. And so Lee was a emergency medical technician. It was just one of the things he did to keep busy was he'd be on more sets. If he was an emergency medical technician, they'd use him as a utility stunt. And so he had this little bag he would carry with him. He had crazy glue in it. And so he yanks out the thing and he pinches the thing closed and puts some crazy glue and goes, hey, Bill, you ready? We're back to one. I'm like, see you there. And we did it again.
Just like that.
And one of the funny part about that, I want to say scared. I recognized things could go bad here. I was going to still do it. We have a joke that we say, they say courage is what being frightened and doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Knowing it could go wrong and doing it anyway. But stupid has the same definition.
Yep.
Knowing, and as we were gonna do it again, I did it, and it came out all right, and they used it. And the stunt coordinator comes to me and he says, "How much do you want?" I said, "For what?" And he goes, "Well, you did the stunt twice. You get paid twice." Oh, I'd never really done a stunt where anybody was going to pay me more than once. So you get your roughly $1,000 for the day, or I think it was $2,000 for the week. And then if you do a stunt, you get what they call a stunt adjustment. And I remember having no idea what I would charge for that. And so he says, "How much do you want?" I don't know. I'm sure you'll be fair. And he's like, "No, I'm going to put you on the spot in front of everybody." Oh, man, come on. And he's like, "How much?" And I said, $500? Seems like a lot of money to me, He goes, "No, man, you could have bid it. You could have completely gone under your life's worth $500.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I guess. And he's like, "It's $1,500 each shot." So, oh my gosh. So I get $3,000 for the stunt plus a couple of thousand for the week. And then if you work overtime, your hourly is based on the stunt adjustment and your hourly rate. So now we're at $275, three and a quarter an hour.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, I would have done this for free.
Right.
I didn't say that, fortunately.
Sure.
But, this is what I wanted to do. This was fun. This was doing all the stupid stuff you would do as a 10-year-old, but, as a profession. I'm a professional, fool. And and that show, another one, the Coreys were so famous at the time. And this was, I believe it was Lost Boys. And I got to do actually more stunts on that show than you would know. We did all the stunts, and then they rewrote the movie. The movie that came out in the theaters was not the movie we shot when I was doing it. There was a whole different storyline, and I guess it just didn't test well. And so they used all the stunts, but wrote a new story and reshot big whole sections of the film. So there's stuff on bicycles, and there's all sorts of other stuff that we did that ended up being part of the show. And when I went to see it at the theater, I'm like, the hell am I watching? This isn't the story we. Where's Grandpa? You know, what happened? Where's this way?
Yeah.
So it was really kind of funny to see it later. But I do look back on that one, and I say, well, on the anniversary, I'll kind of watch the clips as I make my post and go, that was fun. That was fun, you know, and I think it holds up. I mean, yeah, it was a teeny bopper movie, and all the girls were, you know, oh my God, the Corys, ah.
Yeah.
But I remember it very, very vividly as being. That's when I think I really felt like a stunt person. I was doing something significant.
Yeah.
That
they could not have done.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I've had a lot of people say, well, why didn't the actor do it? It's like, well, you know, again, they didn't want to hurt any kids. Most of these guys were under 18 at the time, and so they really had to be careful. And a lot of times they just wanted the kids to be in school.
Cult classic. Don't tell mom the babysitter's dead.
Oh, you know, and we just had an anniversary for that one.
Yep.
I'll tell you, I can hardly remember what I did, but I do remember we sit down to lunch, one of my first days, and there is Christina Applegate.
Yes.
And she was so beautiful. Just, I mean, dream girl extraordinaire.
Yeah.
I am not a person known for being dumbstruck or quiet or, you know, not talking. And she sat across from me, and I couldn't eat. She was so beautiful.
Married with Children was at its height. Like, she was red hot. And again, if you weren't there in the early 90s, you didn't get it.
And I worked with her before that. I worked with her when she was actually younger. I think she was about 16, and she was working on a show called Heart of the City.
Okay.
One of my first stunt gigs for television. And even then, at 16, you know, I was looking like, God, that girl's going to grow up to be a knockout. What a incredibly, you know, beautiful young lady, and very friendly. You know, I think she felt like she kind of had to, you know, remove herself from a lot of the stuff that was going on. But there we are on that show, and I'm sitting across from her. It was the only seat open, and I just, you know, like, you know, eating, looking up every now and then. And so she started a conversation with me. She's like, "Hi, you know, I'm Christina." I'm like, "I know." Yeah. And she's like, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Oh." And she's like, "Really?" And she had this conversation, just asking questions, smiling, friendly as she could possibly be. And I was just like, so deeply in love. You know, and just like, oh my gosh, you know, I just, you know, girls that pretty never spoke to me because I would just never have spoken back. That was one of those, like I said, very few times was I really starstruck. But she was just so beautiful and so friendly. And so, you know, when I was done, I was like, it's a good thing I'm not on that show. Yeah. I just would just sit and stare at that poor girl, and people were like, Bill, it's getting creepy. It's like, oh no, it was creepy from the beginning, I promise you.
Let's talk about Predator 2. This one's a little bit of a departure for you, isn't it?
It was, and for lots of good reasons. First time I'd ever got to speak on camera. And I've done plenty of plays. I mean, I'd been doing plays since I was in the 4th grade. I was an actor, you know, wanted to be an actor. And they said, hey, we're looking for actors that can do their own stunts. And I go in, and I was the preppiest. I looked a lot like Scott Baio at the time. And so very little, you know, preppy, cute boy. And I walked in, and I'm going to this audition, and I'm like, I want this part so bad. And I'm going in with this guy named Alex Chapman. He was one of the gang members. Yeah, I bet mine's bigger than yours. And I go in auditioning with him. There's no chance I'm going to get this part. I mean, I know it. There's no chance. But Alex had this huge puff of white hair coming out of his head. He's got tattoos of spiders and flies in his armpits. He's covered with tats. He is so totally the guy they want. And they said, we're looking for a gang leader and a gang member, you know, his crony. I'm like, clearly, I am the crony. That's the way this is going to work out. And so we do the audition, and all I'm doing is looking at Alex, making sure Alex is just featured in this part. They say, hey, switch parts. Oh, this is so awesome. They're going to let Alex do this part. And now they just want to know where they're going to place Alex. So we do the audition. 2 weeks later, they said, hey, you know, this is Colin from, you know, the casting, and we want you for the gang leader. And I said, oh, I'm really sorry. And they said, what, you don't want to do it? I said, no, you got the wrong guy. You're thinking of Alex. Alex was the big guy. that you want? And they said, no, we want you. And I'm like,
Really?
excuse me? And I said, watching this little guy push around these big gorillas was totally hilarious. I didn't realize the director was in the room. Everybody that was casting, everybody was there. And they said it made us bust up that this little, guy is pushing these big guys around. I was like, no effing way. And I said, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And
I'm in.
I get to the set and I realize I'm actually going to be on camera where people are going to recognize me.
Right.
And that was huge. And I'm walking around the set, and literally on the doorway at the 20th Century Fox studio is a plaque that says The Wizard of Oz was filmed on this soundstage on 1929 or 32 or whatever it was. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is it. This is as good as, this is the very hallowed ground, of these films. And I go walking through the Predator set, and there's the alien head in the trophy room. And I'm like, I wonder if people are going to pick that up. That's so cool. Big Alien fan. And, I get to be speaking. And there's a story I've told, I repost every year about Bill Paxton. I'm sitting in a chair that says Bill. Bill comes over and says, hey man, your name Bill? Yeah? He goes, is it really? I said, yeah. And he goes, oh, you're sitting in my chair. Oh, dude, I'm so sorry. And he goes, no, stick around. And he looks at me, and I'm, dressed as a gang member, and he says, so what are you doing today? And I said, I'm one of the gang members. And he says, don't say it like that. And I said, well, it's no big deal. He said, did you ever see Terminator? I said, of course. We all saw Terminator. And he says, that was my first real role where anybody noticed me, where I was in the opening sequence. The Predator shows up, and it's laundry day, nothing clean, and he takes their clothes and presumably kills them. And he said, that was the first part anybody really recognized me from. And he said, and I was a member. He said, today could be that day for you.
Yeah.
You're never going to get this shot back. His first time on camera speaking, and I said, yeah, does that show? And he's like, a little. Yeah. He says, relax. Just enjoy this day, because you don't get this one back. Yeah. This is your first time in a big budget movie. 6 months from now, you're going to see your face 90 feet across at some movie theater. And this is that day. Don't let it pass. Don't be afraid. Do your best work today and really just relax and enjoy it, because you never get it back. It's like, here was this huge star. Huge. And he went out of his way to be nice to some poor schmuck who looked scared, was sitting in his chair. He could have taken that a different way. He could have said, can I ask you to move out?
Yeah.
But no, he went out of his way to make it the best week of my freaking life.
I love that. I love that story.
And we couldn't have been nicer about it. And then when we did the scenes, he was laughing and, being Jerry, being the character. And I just remember thinking, this week could have gone so differently. It could have just whizzed by. I could have sucked bad. It could have just been terrible. But instead, it was like, I tell people, my kids being born was a pretty good week. But if you had to pick a best, I gotta say, Predator 2, man. And I do remember seeing it on the big screen, and seeing myself up there and just, like, wow, yeah, I did it. I did that thing I always wanted to do.
Love that.
Got the opportunity, and in a $40 million used to be a big budget. $40 million film, lots of special effects. Got to work with Gary Busey, got to work with Bill Paxton and Kevin Peter Hall, and people who are legends now, completely, and fairly legendary even then. And I just look back on that one and go, that was everything that I ever wanted in the whole world from the time that I was 5 years old, all happening in a day.
The People Under the Stairs.
Yeah, that's another one where they wanted an actor that could do stunts,
yeah,
or a stuntman that could act. And again, working for Wes Craven,
yeah,
just doesn't get much better than that. A stunt coordinator friend of mine, a guy named Tony Caesar, legend, did 18 of Wes's movies.
Yeah,
hired me for that one again, and we joke about that one. I actually have a crew jacket that says Wally, and somebody said, "But why Wally?" And I said, "Well, here's the thing. I'm dressed in this thing. We called it scrotum face because I have basically nothing but skin over
Yeah,
my face.
we see the visual here. Yeah,
probably have the picture of that. Wes is looking around and he's like, "Where's that guy? Where's the guy?" And I'm standing right next to him. He is right here. He goes, "Where's Wally?" My name's not Wally, so I'm kind of standing next to him. I'm just, gosh, that guy's in trouble. He better get his ass over here. So I'm kind of sitting there, and he's, "Where is he?" And then Tony says, "Do you mean William?" And he goes, "Yeah, where is he?" And then he's right there. He goes, "Stay close next time." And so my part is to come crashing through the wall, hence Wally.
Sure.
And so I come through, and again, I'm a huge Twin Peaks fan, and two of the stars of that show were the stars of this show. And what the kind of the interesting part of it is, you don't want to hurt the actor, clearly. You as the stunt person, and the reason they wanted a stunt person to do that, I am not attacking her legs. She is kicking me. And the reason for that is she can stop at any time. For Scarefest, I have the mask and clothing from People Under the Stairs.
That's awesome.
And I don't look that different with with scrotum on my face. I don't look that different now than I did back then. And so I think they're going to let me do that. We'll see. Great. I don't know if the interest is even there for it, but I know that the film is still well regarded. And so I asked him, I said, "Hey, nobody's going to want to see me in costume for any of the stuff from the other films, but they might for this, because that was actually me playing a character, essentially. So we'll see."
One more credit I want to tap into before we jump into the nightmare stuff. Home Alone 2. I picked up on earlier, you had mentioned you had this preppy look about you, and I feel like this worked to your favor here, and we'll show the graphic here.
It did for that one, yeah. At that time, that's Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider was very big on Saturday Night Live at that time. Mm-hmm. They called him the Rich Meister. He was making copies. And when I got out there, I first time working on a show out of town, which was really cool. We were staying at the Plaza Hotel in New York, very expensive hotel, and lots of movie people around that were not LA people. So Emilio Estevez and Paula Abdul came by, and actually Donald Trump came by to watch us shoot that. And one of those things where these are the films stunt people live and die for, because there's just stunt after stunt after stunt. Mm-hmm. They flew me out there first class. Never flown first class before. And I just remember thinking, this is going to be so cool. And it's a holiday movie. One of the practical aspects of being in holiday movies, whether they're Christmas or Halloween, is that they will show them year after year after year. And back then it was all about VHS rentals. It was a big part of your residuals. And so recognizing I was in a holiday movie was like, rock on with your bad self, because now I've got some consistent income coming in during the holidays. Between all the horror movies and the Christmas movie, there was always going to be money to buy the kids Christmas presents, around the holidays. But I met Macaulay Culkin and of course Joe Pesci, not known necessarily for his comedic stuff, except for those films. Just an amazing actor. And being able to hang out with those guys and be in New York, where I'd never been there before, it was just another one of those really fun times. And Tim Curry, Tim Curry was just one of my heroes. I don't know about you, but we watched, Rocky Horror Picture Show every Saturday night. Go down to the theater, sneak a little booze in or get a little drunk before we went in. We'd watch that. We'd throw toast. We'd do all that. And there he is, sitting across the room. And I got to introduce myself. But I was so blown away. Very few times I got starstruck, but there's Tim Curry. And I go, "Mr. Curry, my name's Bill Perry." And I said, I'm just such a huge fan. I said, my friends and I watched, Rocky Horror every Saturday night for like 3 years. He said, "Well, tell your friends I said hi." I gave him nothing.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I didn't start a conversation, I ended it. And so he had nothing to say to me because I gave him nothing. And I just remember walking away going, oh, yeah, God, you had one chance. And you just totally blew it. But again, one of those things still I think about, yeah, I'm in a Tim Curry movie.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
But I remember seeing Ira Hayden at one of those shows, and he was Will in Nightmare 3. And I also doubled him in Elvira. And I kind of very meekly, I was just a guest, and I wasn't a guest, I was just an attendee at the show. And I found my way to him, and I said, hey, Ira, you wouldn't remember me. He's like, Bill! I'm like, no way.
That's awesome.
Remember? Okay, that's cool. And he's like, come here, man, let's get a picture. I'm like, I'm not buying right now. And he's like, no, I want one. I'm like, oh, okay. And we actually still make pretty decent double for one another. I just need that hairpiece. When we were doing Nightmare 3, there's the whole scene where the wheelchair is chasing Will's character. And people said, why couldn't he do that? It's like, okay, do you really want to know? And I'm like, yeah. It's like, okay, that chair is being pulled by a Volkswagen engine on wires. And that wire is moving. That thing's going pretty much 0 to 30 in about 20 yards. Now, I got to get a good running start, and I'm running, and that wire is between my feet.
Yeah.
If I slip, if I don't step wide enough, that 30-mile-an-hour quarter-inch cable is going to go right through my leg.
Right. And then you're going to get whacked with a chair after that.
And then I'm going to get run over by a chair that weighs almost 300 pounds.
Right.
So not your best day if
No.
you didn't want that. And we had to do it a lot. We probably did it 20 times. And then they put the front end of the wheelchair on an ATV and chased me with that so that you could have the wheelchair point of view as it's chasing me. And again, they said, we want to be right on your tail. Don't trip because you're going to get run over. And would it kill you to get run over by an ATV? Probably not. But would it hurt? Hell yeah.
Not going to be your favorite day.
Not going to be my best day. And so, Ira was very good about it. Ira never said, no, I want to do it. And he's like, go do.
Yeah.
I don't want to get run over. I don't need this crap. And plus, he was also just very kind to know that this was my work.
Yeah.
He didn't want to see me, get sent home for the day instead of doing the work. So as long as I could do it, I would do it.
What else do you remember about just that entire experience?
Well, that's the sad part is how little I remember.
Yeah.
Somebody had asked me one time, did you ever really get a chance to sit down and hang out with Robert? And I said, unfortunately, no. And then about maybe a year later, somebody sent me this video. It's about 20 minutes back, behind the scenes stuff. And it's that very scene. A good 10 minutes of the 15, 20 minutes is all that scene and showing the making of it. And I'm watching, I'm like, all of a sudden, scar tissue is giving way to memories that I've
unlocking
forgotten.
All these things. Yeah.
And then there's a scene where Robert has a beer, Freddy beer, and I'm standing right next to him, and we're talking.
And you have no
and it was like,
recollection.
I had no memory. But fortunately, video tools being what they are, I was able to bring the footage I had into there because I couldn't quite understand what we were talking about. And I told the software that I have, do captions.
Yeah.
For that. And so there was a lot of people talking, so it's hard to see, but there was a whole conversation that we had. And it was like, oh, yeah. And I didn't remember it until I saw it. And it was really fun to go, oh, yeah, I guess I did have a conversation. Because we were there. I think we probably spent the better part of the whole day just filming that one sequence.
Yeah.
And it was just funny. Like, I didn't remember that until I did. Yeah. Until something kind of pulled me in and said, remember, you did this scene. It's like, oh, yeah. And we talked. And he was out of makeup because the shot we were doing at the time was in silhouette.
Sure.
And he's way down the hall. So there's no way you would know whether he was wearing makeup or not. And so it was, shot out of sequence and stuff. So we had this whole conversation. I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool. And so fortunately, because somebody sent me that video, I was actually able to go back and access a memory that's, been hidden by my 7 concussions. And it was like, oh, good. Yeah, that's really cool. That's fun. I think my biggest memory, you have sense memories, is the smell of burning baby oil.
Okay.
It was a very low budget show for it. Well, actually, it was the biggest budget of any of the Nightmares. I think it was 13 million. Most of the others were done for 2 or 3 million. Even the ones that came after were actually, they went back to the low budget, recognizing that they didn't make any more money just because they had a bigger budget.
Yeah.
But they would burn baby oil for the smoke.
Okay.
And it's nasty. It gets on your skin and you smell of it. It's like a bad cigar. You're like, ugh, I just want to get this off my clothes. But I remember that a lot because we were inhaling it. It's probably, I don't think it's cancerous. I hope it isn't. We're all dead. But I remember that very vividly. And I remember, and I hate to say it this way, but it's true. I thought, a horror movie? Really?
Yeah.
These movies are the Kleenex tissue of cinema. They're going to do this. It's going to come out. They'll make a few bucks, and then they'll move on. No one will ever remember this. I want to be in a movie I'm going to be remembered for.
Well, let's jump into Nightmare 4. Nightmare 4, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit. I've got the graphic up here.
Andros. Andros was going to be the guy doing all the karate stuff, and they taught him pretty well. The guy was pretty decent with nunchucks. They brought me in. My martial arts background is that my brother Larry was a ninth degree black belt. And so when I was growing up, martial arts was just part of our world. But I hadn't done martial arts in a while, not at least with any real, I would work out here and there, but it wasn't something I was doing all the time. And so they said, we want to bring you in. We want you to do some kicks. So they had me do a few kicks that Andros wouldn't be able to do, spinning kicks and jumping and stuff like that. And so my brother got to see it. And he says, did you tell people I was your instructor? I said, no. And he goes, thanks, man. I appreciate it. As only a brother can.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like crap for doing it. But in the end, he was like, no, I mean, hey, you got, your martial arts background finally got you in a show. But I remember doing that, and there wasn't the music at the time. So I remember when the music was like, oh, God, I think I would have had more energy for it if I'd known there was, this particular music was going to be raging in the background. It's a great song.
That song that they have there, man, it
makes it really, the scene and it helped
at that point, yeah.
They were concerned. I mean, Andros could actually do the nunchuck thing, and he did, but they said, we want more speed, we want some catches. What they didn't show, and it was really pissed me off, was there's, behind-the-back catches and stuff. I'm like, those are dangerous, And I think sometimes they don't want to show the actors doing anything too dangerous because they don't want people to emulate them.
Yeah.
It was like, those, whipping around the back, those are real wood nunchucks. Those weren't, plastic or wood or fake. We were using real stuff, and they didn't want Andros very, got those movie star looks. They didn't want anything happening to him, where he's going to bonk himself in the head. So they let him do, just the little kind of figure eights, and then they brought me in to do other stuff. But I just, again, it wasn't that long after Nightmare 3, and I remember at the time going, not another Nightmare on Elm Street movie. What are we going to do?
Nightmare 4 comes out, and Rick, played by Andros, was the epitome of cool. Right, he was still to this day my favorite character in the entire franchise.
He was wisecracking,
everything, and he had the look, he had the timing, he had the style,
and Tuesday Night,
which,
yeah. We're all guys here. We can talk about it.
So I actually, the first time I met Andros was, I think, 2017, if I'm not mistaken. They did a whole Nightmare 4 reunion. They did this was out in Chicago at a different show, and they did like an outdoor screening of Nightmare 4, which was amazing. And, Tuesday actually sang the opening sequence while we're watching it on screen. And it was like, I'm literally getting goosebumps right now thinking about it. And, one thing I remember about Andros during that period is, they were saying, don't record things, this is a private event, whatever. And he's walking around in full boyfriend mode. Like, hey, I'm watching you. Make sure, like, telling all the people, like, that, don't be recording or whatever. And it was just like, and to this day, and I hope he's watching, I will always idolize Rick, what he brought to the screen, and to know that you doubled for him is like, it's a cool connection for me.
Yeah, and he was
from personal
couldn't
level.
have been a cooler guy.
Yeah.
He was everything that, now he's out, he plays music. He's
he does
a damn
great.
good guitar player, songwriter, and all that. And I have not bumped into him since.
Yeah.
If you're out there, Rick, you were awfully cool.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be you
Super
too,
cool.
even though I sort of was you.
One last film I want to talk about, and we talked about it a little bit before. Freddy's dead. He finally dies, or so we thought.
I knew a lot of other stunt guys who didn't work as much as I did because they were all 5'11", 6'1", 190 pounds, good shape. So they're doubling, they want to double Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Well, there's a million guys who want to double Harrison Ford. I'm doubling Sean Greenblatt.
Yep.
There's about 5 other guys in the whole world can double Sean Greenblatt effectively, and I'm one of them. So I got the gig. So I'm not competing against the whole world. I've got a very niche sort of group that I work with, and so I was working regular. But I did a stunt on that actually hurt a lot. Falling out of the window and landing. That was in front of Freddy's really truly house in Los Angeles on asphalt at night in 20-degree weather. No pads. 7 feet onto concrete or asphalt.
Yeah.
That hurt like hell. Busted myself up for that stupid shot. We did it, must have done it 8 times. And by the end of it, I got it, I'm just, my shoulders separated. I'm having a problem with a rib that didn't quite heal from the last time I busted it. And I was like, and it wasn't as scary as I wanted it to be. I wanted that scene to be just drop dead scary.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man, all right. Still love it. Come by and get those posters. And in Freddy 6, I mean, Freddy's Dead, they did the 3D part of it too. And I still have my glasses.
Yeah, same.
Right over there somewhere.
Yeah.
I love what again, they were having fun with it. Was it scary, But, like I said, I'm proud of my work in that. I did a pretty, what would seem like a fairly lackluster stunt for the most part. Got my butt beat pretty good for it. One of the other things that happened in that, when I go through the window, why I can't learn how to use a door.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this sort of clip show of all the stuff that I've done. I'm like, I never leave by a door.
Yeah.
I'm always going through a window. But as I was supposed to go through the window, we talked about earlier the candy glass. The glass was really thick. The windows to be banging back and forth. Now, chronologically, the window's already shattered. There is no glass to go through. But we're in a dream sequence, so there's always more glass.
Sure.
I go through the window, and I said to the guy, there was not a lot of run-up to going out the window. They said, we just want you to jump out the window. I said, you can't just jump 5 feet.
Sure.
You
got to have a little momentum together.
Little momentum. And he says, oh, you'll be fine. I said, that glass is really thick. It was probably a good 3/4 of an inch thick. Again, very fragile, but, So I said, I'm not going to make it through that window from this distance. He goes, don't be a puss. I'm like, it's not about being a puss. It's physics, man.
Yeah.
So the first time I did it, I got halfway through. So I'm literally hanging through the window, a big sheet of very sharp glass on my abdomen. I'm like, I could lay here long enough, there's going to be 2 of me.
Yeah.
They're going to cut me right in half. So then the next time the guy's like, you wussy. So the next time they threw me.
Oh, okay.
The guy just, I come up and he just grabbed a hold of the back of me and just threw me, and I ended up having enough stuff to go through the window. And then the idea was I go through the window, I hit the ground, and then I jump up to my feet and I run to Freddy's door. And the shot was, first we show him going out the window, next we show him hit the ground. And what they did was I hit the ground, and then as I rolled out of the way, Sean stands up. And then they follow Sean with a steady cam all the way to Freddy's door. And it was a very, very complex shot. Very, very artistic. Me hitting the ground was not the problem. I hit the ground real good and hard, separated my shoulder, black and blue. Things are getting really ugly very quick. By the 3rd time, I'm looking over at the stunt coordinator, and he's looking at me like, can you do it again? I'm like, I can do it again. But now my shoulder hurts so bad, I'm over-rotating and landing on my back because I just couldn't take the pain in my shoulder anymore. So by about the 5th time, I look over at the stunt coordinator, and he's like, look, is this Bill's fault that we're not getting this shot? The guy says, no, it's just a really complex shot. And he says, well, he can't just keep doing this. He says, well, I mean, isn't he a stunt man? He's like, look, yeah, he can, but we're going to be paying him. And he's like, how much? He's like, $500 a shot. The director's like, what the F? Come on, man. And he's like, it hurts. It hurts a lot, And so I think we did it 8 times, all told. I get home. I just looked like I'd been run over by a truck and then dragged a while. And I remember getting home, my wife looking at me, she's taking off my shirt, and it's not good. And she looks at me, she said, "Oh my God, honey, you're hurt." I said, "You know, this is the game, hon." And she's like, "No, no, this is not part of this. You should not look like this. It's what we do. If I was a football player and I came home looking like this, you go, what's part of the sport?
Yeah.
This is part of the game."
Sure.
And she said, "It's not right. You need medical attention." I made $8,000 tonight. She goes, "We're getting a new couch." And that was the last we spoke of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how that happens.
When you see it lucrative and you go, well, that is the game, and at least it's a good paying sport.
Yeah.
But that was one of those ones where it didn't look like much of a stunt, and I've had people go, Sean could have done it. Nah, Sean couldn't have, shouldn't have, wouldn't have, probably didn't want to.
And if he did, imagine the delays in filming.
Yeah, he would have definitely been effed up. Yeah, that's a long fall onto concrete. And I remember putting on the outfit, and it's like he's wearing like skinny jeans and a skinny T-shirt.
Yeah.
I said, where do I put the pads? And they said, "Well, you don't." And I'm remembering all the times in karate class where they'd say, you got to be able to, slap out. You got to be able to hit the ground because you got to hit the ground harder than it hits you, or this fight's going to be over, after the first time you get knocked down. I'm like, all right, this is that day. All those judo falls are gonna pay off today, but you can only do them so many times. After a while, you got to realize you lost this fight. Go home.
I mean, the finished product of the scene came out great. I think.
Yeah,
it looks
it's almost
as it
hard
should.
to see what happened to me though. I watch it and go, boy, we shot that an awful lot of times. I hope that was the best take.
Yeah.
I hope that wasn't the 7th take where I was, over rotating just to protect my shoulder anymore.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about is you were fortunate enough to work with Wes Craven several times in your career.
Working with Wes, watching him, Wes was not a trained director in the classical sense of going to film school. And so when he would get on the set, he was like a kid with Barbies, G.I. Joes. He finally has real people that he can put in a place and go, okay, you guys fight each other. And then I want the electricity and I want special effects or whatever. So he was having the time of his life directing what was going on in his head with real people and filming it. And if it was a really good scare, Wes would be, kind of watching and sort of projecting what was going to happen in the theater when this moment happened. So he's having a great time. We're having a great time. Super creative. Things always go wrong on the set, and the director is the person who's just got to say, "We're going to switch gears and do this. I'll shoot it this way. It'll work."
Yeah.
Shoot a new scene. Do what you got to do. And so that environment is tense, but tense in the sense that your best work happens when you're forced to find a way, to make something happen. And so another one of those, just memories watching Wes work and going, damn, the guy is just a genius. He knows how to get people to do what they want him to do and give performances they might not even know they had.
Yeah.
And so just a real, I say at the time I didn't know Wes would be legendary one day. I just thought he was a really cool guy.
Yeah.
That did a lot of really cool movies. And how much of it he wrote.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good directors out there. There's a lot of good writers out there. There's not a lot of good writers who direct or directors who write. And Wes had that gift in 2 different ways. Again, not really trained. I mean, he was a professor, or at least a teacher of humanities. And he used his understanding of sort of how humans, what scares you, why it scares you, to make his movies.
Yeah. Definitely tapped into that.
Yeah. He used to say that if you walked into when you go into a horror film, it's all the stuff that scared you when you were a kid. So where's the monster? He's under the bed. He's got knives for fingers. It's all the stuff that scared you when you were 7. Mm-hmm. You've gotten older. You've learned to deal with it. Those fears are still in your mind, but you recognize they're not real, and you don't get scared anymore. Unless I put you in a movie theater and I take away all of your ability to just wake up and stop it. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm going to take you through your worst nightmare on screen.
Yep.
And you can't alter the situation. You got to just watch. And Wes used to talk about how he wanted to do other movies, mm-hmm. and he did. but he thought it was his thing that he didn't want to be known as a horror movie director. He wanted to be known as a really good director.
Yeah.
And so he did Scream 4 because if he wasn't going to do Scream 4, but he said, I did Scream 4 because that way they'd let me make music of the heart and I could work with Meryl effing Streep.
Yeah.
I mean, really. As actors go, you're just not going to, you couldn't find a bigger, more respected name than Meryl Streep. And so he got to do that film. And although it wasn't his crowning achievement, it's not like, people say, oh, that was the best movie he ever made. He really got a chance to be the film director he wanted to be. But I don't think he was ashamed of them in any way. It was just like, I want to expand beyond that. I want people to recognize I have depth.
You don't want to be pigeonholed.
I have an ability to work with the best and get the best out of them, even though he got the best out of a lot of great actors in his time. He got them early.
Yeah.
He was the one who helped them develop that.
So, Bill, let's talk about your books. You have your first book, By His Hand, and the second book, Out of His Mind. There's enough here. I want to talk about this in depth, maybe on a future episode, but tell me a little bit about this.
This is going to F you up.
Okay.
Everybody, and I'm not saying that, I'm not bragging, I promise you. It's something where almost everybody, there's going to be a certain scene in By His Hand where you're going to go, how do you even talk about that? How do you even imagine that?
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of it. It's a very short book. It's an hour. And in fact, I'll tell people, if anybody's interested, I make all of 18 cents. If you if you download that book on Kindle or Audible, I make nothing. My proudest thing is that I created characters and situations that scare you, that make you stop and go, I'm going to take a break for a minute because I'm kind of effed up. I love that in the weirdest way because it's my creation.
Yeah.
Something I did. I didn't have a cast of thousands. I had what went on in my brain. And there's a sequel to it that I also did that I think takes advantage of the scariest moments and makes them nastier, gnarlier, scarier, I hope. And I love that part. We're actually going into pre-production right now on a film version of By His Hand.
Okay.
Which is a much deeper exploration of all the characters.
Yeah.
Which I really, really am enjoying. I love the process because I'm back in film again.
Yeah.
We did a table read a couple of weeks ago, and just hearing actors say the lines I wrote, so I could know if it worked.
You created that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody had written to me and said, you effing traumatized me. Like, for $6, that's a damn good deal.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And when people have said to me, so why did he do what he did? And I don't tell them because I don't want you to know.
Yeah.
That's horror, baby. I hope it sits with you for a good long time. That's my job. And I never thought I was not actually a horror fan. And when this story came to me, it's not like people say, it's not like anything I've read before, and I like that. I want it to be original. And I really do hope people enjoy it. Again, I'm not doing this for the money. 18 cents, really?
Yeah.
18 cents at a time. I think I've made $300 on this book at 18 cents a pop. So that's a lot of sales, fortunately.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm hoping that the movie will really get under your skin in a very, very dark and very, very disturbing way.
Well,
it's fun to be the person that gave you the heebie-jeebies. And I hope that I do justice to Wes's advice to me about finding that thing that scares you so down deep and there's no way out.
So I know you're looking forward to Scarefest in October. Let's talk about that a little bit.
The people that I've met, these are people that we make, we're already sending memes back and forth. We're sending dad jokes. We're hanging out with, and they're so thrilled to be a friend of the guy that did the thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't understand. It's a very, very rewarding thing, but what's more than that is just finding really good people.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think my pictures are the value that I provide. I hope the value that I provide is that when you come to see me, you can ask a question about a film and I can give you an answer you've never heard before, and I can tell you a fun story that went with it. And one guy drove from Canada just to get my picture because he didn't have his poster the first time. He brought me a thing, and he's like, "Can you sign right next to Bill Paxton?" I thought I was going to cry. It's like, dude, I don't deserve to be next to Bill Paxton. He's like, no, my poster isn't complete until you sign it. You're killing me. Or they bring me some piece of artwork that they've done. I mean, like, and the horror crowd is way different than the Star Trek crowd, than the Star Wars crowd, than the art that just comes from their soul. And they'll put paintings in front of you, and you're like, I don't want to ruin this. And they're like, no, it's not. It's for you. I want this piece to go on my wall with the signatures of all the people who made this film possible. If that doesn't blow your mind, and if you are not completely flattered to death, don't go to the shows. Yeah. Don't be a guest at a show, because that, to me, it just floors me, the heart and the love and the passion they put into their artwork and the cosplay and all that stuff. If that doesn't amuse you, get out. Yeah. Just get out. It's so much fun. And again, this is the biggest show I've done. I hope there are more down the line. But if this is the biggest and best one I ever do, I am so all in. Like I say, 104 days or whatever it is, I can't wait. And yeah. I'm hoping that, this kind of gives people a sense of who I am. And if they want to come by and hang out, I usually, I've got all sorts of stuff. I have a Freddy glove that I let people wear. If you got small hands like me, if you're over about 14, you're probably going to hands are going to be too big. But I have my Freddy glove, and I let them take pictures with it. I don't charge for that. I just want people to come by and hang out. Of course, if they come by and they want something, buy a book, get a picture, whatever you need. Sure. But come by, because this is, for me, all the fun I can have with my clothes on. Come on out. So many good people, so many people that I love, that you'll love it. Meet Brooke, meet Ira, meet Ken, meet Jennifer. Wonderful, kind people who love talking about their movies. The kids, I haven't actually seen the kids from, but I know they wouldn't be doing this show if they weren't into it. The kids from Monster Squad, of course, the guys from Lost Boys. Again, I know them sort of ethereally from a long time ago. But again, this is one of those shows. They don't bring guests to these shows unless something happened that's got them in having just a terrible day. The people that come to this show come here because they love this show. They love the fans. They love the interaction. They love the mania. They love the breadth of it and the size of it. And that, to me, that's why I'm looking forward to it. So I think come out and really enjoy it. Get your freak on. I can't wait to meet all the people that I've been talking to. I got to put faces to all these people that have been writing to me. You guys couldn't be kinder. You couldn't be more generous. I've just never felt like I belonged to a community so quickly as the Scarefest people. They just came out of the woodwork and were so kind. I after I was done, I said, I was kind of doing a gotcha to that guy, telling him about all I did. I didn't want to be mean, but it really worked out. People have been just jumping on board and saying the nicest things and being very, very friendly. And I just couldn't be happier about doing it. So please do come out, and I'll be posting little videos and things showing you what I've done. So if there's a movie that you didn't know, like Star Trek or all sorts of other movies that are out there, I'll let you know what I did. Bring your posters. I'll be happy to sign them.
Great. Bill Perry, thank you for being our guest. We will see you in October.
Thank you so much.
Have yourself
looking
a great
forward
day.
to it more than you could possibly imagine.